Friedman here, licensed professional clinical counselor, clinically certified domestic violence counselor, clinically certified trauma professional level 2, and the creator of SNAP, Survivors of Narcissistic and Abusive Personalities, and the owner of Claremont Mental Health. Today I'd like to talk to you about narcissistic abuse and polyamory, or what we call consensual non-monogamy. This is kind of a taboo topic in our culture, right? So we're used to the concept of monogamy, that in intimate partner relationships that there are two partners. Some people have very strong opinions about what other people do in their intimate partner relationships, but we're not here to judge today at all. Just to put that out there. Some of the language that we use in this video might be gendered because that tends to be the experience from my perspective. However, keep in mind that relationships take all different forms, and of course that would include same genders, right? So we're not like assessing or measuring whether this is right or wrong. In fact, that's kind of the whole point of consensual non-monogamy, but we're going to get farther into that in just a second. But the problem that I have seen is that in some narcissistically abusive relationships, one of the partners will introduce this concept of polyamory and insist that this is what is going to make them happy and this is what they need. And that, you know, if you love them and want for them to be happy, that you should support this and maybe even participate. So I wrote down a few notes because I wanted it to be clear that there are people that practice this lifestyle and they do it well. And I have met them and they're well-adjusted and healthy people. And the way that they live their life is actually quite normal. But the only difference is that they have more than one person that they can reach out to and utilize to have all of their needs met. And those could be all kinds of different needs. It's not just about sex, but we're going to get to that in just a second. Okay. So as we know, narcissists need a lot of attention. A lot of attention. Okay, so this makes so much sense that this would crop up. But the problem is that they weaponize and exploit the concept of, excuse me, they weaponize and exploit the concept and practice of consensual non-monogamy or polyamory in order to have multiple sex partners. So they hear about this and they're like, whoa, hell yeah. And now all of a sudden they are presenting the topic to you as if it's something that, you know, will help them fulfill themselves on a deeper level. But without this concept to exploit, what you'll find at times is that when they cheat, they will say things like, well, and again, we're using gendered language here, and we're using a husband-wife scenario. But let's say that the wife now has 3 children or 2 children that she's caring after. So one thing I hear quite a bit is, well, she spends all her time with the kids. Ever since we had kids, that's all she does is pay attention to the kids, and I don't get any attention. And so what do you expect me to do? What would you have me do? You know, I'm sitting here needing love and attention, and all she does is pay attention to the kids. I mean, how horrible that must be to have your partner being an attentive parent to your children. It's awful. Okay, so paying too much attention to the kids, and oh yeah, and what else are they supposed to do? So it's sort of like this is happening to them. But by the way, when they say, what am I supposed to do? You know, like, what would you have me do? Well, actually, what I would have you do is I would have you work on your marriage. I would have you work on yourself. I would also have you get honest. capable, which we all know a lot of narcissists are not capable of honesty. That we're going to get honest, that we're going to stop trying to control other people, and that we're going to start taking responsibility and stop playing the victim. So when it's, what else would I do? Well, here you go. This is exactly what you should do. Work on yourself. Work on your marriage. Get honest, right? Get honest and get transparent. Take responsibility for your situation and stop playing the victim. That's what you should do. And there's probably a lot more that you could do. In fact, your partner has probably told you specifically what they would like you to do, as a matter of fact, if you choose to listen. Okay, so that's me just ranting a hair, just a little bit, tiny, tiny bit. Okay, but what is consensual non-monogamy and what is it not? Okay, so those are the next two questions we're going to answer. And for the question of what is ethical non-monogamy, or also called consensual non-monogamy, we're going to use this book called Polysecure by Jessica Fern. I recommend this highly. If you have PTSD or attachment issues, that's what this is about. It's not just about polyamory and consensual non-monogamy. It's about that lifestyle and practice within the context of attachment and trauma. Speaks right to my clients, right? Okay, get this book. If somebody is trying to pressure you into doing this and you don't feel comfortable with it, or you've started doing it and it's not going well, this is something you could start with. And then you'll go, oh, I see. We're not really doing this, are we? No, you're not, because you never even read a book about it, chances are. But let's use Jessica Fern's definition of consensual non-monogamy and polyamory. CNM. Consensual non-monogamy, the practice of having multiple sexual and/or romantic partners at the same time, where all people involved are aware of this relationship arrangement and consent to it. CNM can include, but is not limited to, polyamory, swinging, open marriage, open relationship, solo polyamory, and relationship anarchy. These are all concepts of relationship styles that you can look into and learn about. But the most important part to me in this definition is that all people involved are aware of this relationship arrangement and consent to it. Okay. Now, it's not all about sex, and that was in there too. That it can be a romantic relationship, doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual relationship. This is about people getting their relationship needs met, and not all relationship needs are sexual. And it's about all parties being fully self-actualized. And what I mean by this is sort of like a level of your own personal evolution. If this is something that applies to you, that you are learning about yourself and what your needs are and what needs you're not getting met, and how you can, in a healthy way, pursue getting all those needs met or attending to them in some ways. So this is about fully self-actualizing for all parties involved. Okay, sorry. Let's see. So I want to also point out that I've seen this both ways. I've seen it done well with people who are healthy and happy, and I see like, okay, this makes sense for them, and wow, look at them go. You know, that's really awesome that they're able to put that all together and make that happen. And it's kind of cool when you see it done well. But then I've seen it used as a form of abuse. I've seen it used as a manipulative tool. I've seen it used in unhealthy relationships, not just abusive relationships, but in really unhealthy relationships as a coping mechanism almost. It's like let's just be distracted by all this other stuff and ignore what's going on in our actual relationship. So almost like a Band-Aid or a coping mechanism to avoid working on the foundational relationship. We're skipping over the stuff I mentioned before. Go to therapy, work on yourself, get honest, take responsibility. So when it's done well, it can be great for the people involved, including the kids. Kids can have more of a support system. They have more healthy adults in their life and other kids that they are around. And the people can also have spiritual beliefs and faith as well. So it's something that we don't want to judge, but at the same time, it's so intricate and personal, and it requires sort of access to our vulnerable self with people that, you just want to make sure that when you're entering into something like this, that you've done your research, you've educated yourself, and you really have fully communicated with the people involved, and that you feel okay about it. So I'm not saying it's just 100% all the time amazing and awesome. I see people work through problems in consensually non-monogamous relationships, much like they would in monogamous relationships. They communicate about the same things. We got love languages. There's all kinds of stuff that you can apply. This is a system, right? So that systemic approach can apply to a polyamorous or consensual non-monogamous situation. But for the ones where it's kind of not healthy, what I'm seeing is confusion, a lack of communication, a lot of surprises, and always needing to talk. Lots of talks need to happen, and then feelings are hurt, and then talks need to happen, and then feelings are hurt, and then talks need to happen. And there's maybe one person in this scenario that really doesn't want this to be going on, but it's just going along with it because they feel like that's what's going to make their partner happy. So they'll kind of force themselves to feel okay with something that they're not actually okay with. So if your partner is suggesting that you start engaging in polyamory or consensual non-monogamy, you want to make sure that you've educated yourselves first, that you've read the books, because there's quite a few that people that practice this, those are their main books that they read. Look it up. Go find out about it and figure out if what you're doing is actually healthy, if this is it. Don't just take their word for it when they're coming to you. Oh yeah, I met so-and-so and this is what they do and it works out for them. Let's go talk to them. No, let's read a book. Let's look at some research. Let's talk to a therapist about it who knows about it, right? So don't just take their word for it. Oh, now you're dating someone new and this is what they do and you're really interested in them. And so you just kind of, well, I really like them and I want to date them. Well, if they're already doing it, they must be experts, right? If the person I'm about to date already does this and they say, oh yeah, it's great and I do this and this person, and it works out well and we're all happy, blah, blah, blah. Great, that sounds wonderful. Those words sound amazing. Don't those words sound nice? But what we need to see is actions and behaviors, and we need to see those scenarios actually unfolding within the context to gauge whether it is healthy or not. So when someone approaches you, seems like they have it all figured out, please don't take that at face value. Give it time. Let's see what the patterns are here. Let's see how honest and transparent people actually are, and take it slow. Decide if it's something that you really want to do and do the research about it. Was that it? Oh, a couple more things. What is it not, right? We mentioned that at the beginning. You shouldn't be constantly discovering what's been going on behind your back. So if that's happening, not good. And when you express concerns about boundaries, those boundaries should be honored and respected with love, because that's kind of what this is all about, right? If your boundaries are crossed or pushed, not honored, not heard, That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Remember, it's about everyone trying to be self-actualized. You can't do that if you can't also have boundaries and your boundaries being respected by the people involved. It's not possible, right? Do you see what I'm saying? All right. And then the other thing it is not is that there should not be a lack of balance. So let's say, for example, that, you know, your formerly monogamous partner would like to be able to do A, B, C, and D, but yet would prefer that you not do those things. That's not balance, right? So one person should not be allowed to just do whatever they want, and then the other person, because the person who does whatever they want would be jealous, but that's kind of what narcissistic people are like, is that they want it all for themselves. They feel entitled to have it all, but they don't want you to have it because that makes them jealous. So we want to look out for that too. That if your rules are different from their rules and you're not okay with that. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Kind of a weird topic. I know it's a little uncomfortable for some people, but you know me, I got to present it all, warts and all, and this is definitely something that comes up. So if you haven't heard of it, now you know more. If you have already heard of it, some of the things that I've mentioned might be ringing a bell. All right. Bye.